Is it water with the sheep in the box?
Hi everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video about all the shit I've seen go around the internet recently around iDubbbz, who I've been reliably informed is a YouTube edgy man who 14-year-old boys think is hilarious because he occasionally uses racial, homophobic and ableist slurs in his videos, and his girlfriend's personal life, which is apparently just fair game for everyone to make judgments about or comment upon now. So on the off chance that you're not aware of the situation and what's going on with iDubbbz and his incredibly upset, triggered snowflake audience, iDubbbz's girlfriend recently started an OnlyFans, which I'll let iDubbbz describe in his own words.
The website where you can upload amateur porn. Anything from double penetration all the way over to lewd cosplay. And everything in between.
Posting stuff that has been referred to as porn multiple times, and even some weird shit about her pussy.
So on the cons we have, everyone can see what he sees for a few dollars.
What exactly do you think I'm seeing? Do you think she's shooting fireworks out of her pussy? Do you think she's screening The Matrix Reloaded down there? It's not a mystery, it's a pussy, dude. There's no special pussy.
Even though the actual context of the OnlyFans has been leaked, and it turns out that not only does she not make that kind of porn, but she also doesn't even post nudes. I'm not going to show it on screen because I'm unsure as to whether or not that's a violation of some kind, considering that obviously I didn't pay for the leaked footage, and also she probably didn't consent to having her body or labour used in this way, but suffice to say, I have seen it, it's incredibly tame, and honestly it's fucking cringe that all of what we're going to discuss today is based on an adult woman filming herself dancing around wearing lingerie, and you can see her bare ass for maybe like 10 seconds. This revelation shocked the internet, or at least the edgy boys who dominate certain sections of it, including PewDiePie, who, let's be honest here, is arguably a Nazi.
What's that? We're getting breaking news. iDubbbz is a simp? No! That's impossible!
Leafy is here, who came out of retirement just to make a 30-second video that is literally just a 2017 level "you're a cuck lol" thing.
And I think all of it is cool. Yeah, I know,
Dude, you're a fucking cuck.
To people who I hadn't even heard of, like Kavos, who, like all cringy YouTubers nowadays, apparently is someone I share country with. Seriously, at this point I'm actually genuinely worried that I live down the street from the Britisher or some shit. Of course, it should go without saying that this is all ludicrous nonsense. A bunch of losers on the internet felt the need to police a woman they don't know, specifically what she does with her body, and really I think what this shows is a pretty flagrant disregard for women's bodily autonomy and reduction of women in our society to not only just bodies on a screen, pieces of meat that we have to be reminded are human beings, but the property of the men in their lives. Wonder who that reminds me of.
She's still hot, still got good tits, but Jesus Christ is she annoying. Little Miss Activist, bitch. I suppose that she'd be fine if you could just ball gag her. But, yeah, I'm sorry, and those tits are probably being held up by a fucking super bra or something.
No one seems to really give a shit about Anissa Joma, the person, and her feelings and autonomy as a human being, because none of these people seem to be able to consider her one. So let's discuss it, shall we?
I'm sexy and I know it.
This is the meme that's been doing the rounds recently. Most of it's just jokes, but as we discussed before, behind most jokes there is a sliver of truth. Humour is rhetoric after all, and most comedians do actually believe most of the things they joke about. Steven Crowder claims to be a comedian, but I sincerely doubt that he doesn't believe most of what he says on his garbage show. Or hey, who knows, maybe his climate change denial is just one long extended bit I just don't understand with my tiny lefty brain. First of all, what's a simp? Well, apparently it's technically an acronym standing for suckers idolizing mediocre pussy, which could be interpreted in a number of ways. For example, if I was feeling particularly uncharitable, I could assert that actually what it means is incels misinterpreting the concept of being nice to women, but realistically I imagine it means men who waste their lives infatuated with people who wouldn't be good for them anyway. This clearly doesn't apply to iDubbbz here because it's his fucking girlfriend. If anything, it could be argued that the people who felt like a woman they barely know selling pictures of her own body online is unacceptable or immoral in some way are the real simps, but apparently iDubbbz fanbase doesn't want to have that conversation. Also, the OnlyFans is already one of the biggest on the entire site, so I don't know what that makes all the other people following it. Slightly more accurate, though still categorically incorrect, is the accusation of cuckoldry, because at least the definition of that requires the people involved to have a pre-existing relationship, but in order for that to be the case, there would have to be some form of sex outside the confines of a relationship going in, which frankly there just isn't. iDubbbz said he's cool with it, and quite frankly he's the one who gets to actually be with her, whilst other people get to look on from the outside and fantasize about her. I don't get how other people wanting but not being able to have his girlfriend somehow makes them more powerful than him in some way.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
This one's been used a lot in the response videos. They analyse specific frames of the iDubbbz video and claim that a particular way he speaks or face he pulls actually means that he's being held under duress, and that his cruel harpy of a girlfriend is forcing him to be okay with doing whatever the fuck she wants with her own body.
Even when he's saying it, he doesn't look like he wants to. He looks like his girlfriend has a gun behind the camera threatening him.
And I think all of it is cool. Yeah, I know.
It's cool.
Here's the thing, no one can read minds, but if he wasn't okay with it, he had a number of options. He could have spoken to her and discussed his misgivings, they could have talked it out and maybe come to a resolution. Maybe that did happen. He could have not mentioned it at all, because let's be honest here, his video is the main contributing factor to the massive overnight success of her OnlyFans, and crucially he could have broken up with her, or at least made it clear that if she went ahead with the OnlyFans idea, he wouldn't be able to maintain a relationship with her. Relationships are above all dependent on the participant's ability to effectively communicate and compromise. And if Anissa was insistent on going into sex work and iDubbbz was unable to get over his misgivings about it, then clearly a breakup might have solved the problem. But none of that happened, other than they potentially discussed it and came to a resolution or compromise, so quite frankly, this assertion is based on the fact that people making it are insecure to the point that they wouldn't be comfortable with their girlfriend doing something like that, so that means no one else possibly could be.
He just used the most slam dunk simp argument I've ever heard. He said he doesn't mind people seeing his girlfriend naked or selling nudes because every pussy is the same. I'm sure it's not too old-fashioned for me to say, but I wouldn't want other guys seeing my girlfriend naked. I feel like it's perfectly normal to think that if you have a girlfriend, you don't want other guys having access to her in any way.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
Cheating is a complicated grey area because it can vary in severity from person to person, depending on their stance on the issue. For example, just among my personal circle of friends, I know people who think that looking at porn is cheating, and on the other hand, I have friends who are in open relationships. The difference is prior agreement and consent. Of my friends in open relationships, one of them has a rule that stipulates that full sex is completely acceptable, but oral sex is not, because that's a level of intimacy that they want to keep within the marriage. If one or the other of them went down on someone else, that would then be considered cheating because it's against the parameters agreed between them. Likewise, emotional cheating, where people in relationships fall for someone else and act very like a couple despite no sex or even physical interaction taking place, is very much considered cheating in some circles and not others. As one response video pointed out, if one half of a couple was sending nudes to other people, that would be cheating.
Let me ask you this, if your girlfriend sent nudes to another guy while you were in a relationship, what would you do? I don't know about you, but I would break up with that bitch straight away. Leaving
out the silent assumption that the other half of the couple wasn't aware and wouldn't approve of it. But that's the thing, you see, it's not a guarantee that that's the case, and in iDubbbz's case, he obviously supports and sees no issues with the OnlyFans page, so this is just a fucking pointless argument to even begin having. It's like agreeing on house rules in Monopoly and then kicking off when there's no payout at free parking because it says there should be in the rule book.
I'm sexy and I know it.
This is what this is all really about though, isn't it? It's just a direct moral attack on and dismissal of sex workers. The people getting mad about it or acting like it's a betrayal, beyond being stuck in some weird fucking parasocial nightmare world in which a YouTuber's girlfriend doing incredibly softcore porn is a personal affront, are basically just outing themselves as the sort of people who believe that sex workers are in some way degenerate, beneath contempt and undeserving of empathy or respect. This is a common problem in our society. We're happy to use sex to sell products products or cause massive amounts of damage to one another's self-esteem, but we're unable to really thoroughly examine our relationship with sex beyond that. Wherever you go, kink shaming is rife. LGBTQ+ people are reduced to hypersexual creatures of carnal obsession in media, and sex workers are simultaneously seen as helpless victims without agency and also dirty people to be avoided at all costs because they might be after drugs or something. In other words, in the West, sex workers are often treated like the homeless, whether they be porn stars, people selling pics of themselves in lingerie, or whatever the fuck cake farts is. Honestly, so long as no one's getting hurt and everyone involved is aware and comfortable with the situation, what is actually the fucking problem with a woman choosing to show off her body for money? The answer, in my opinion, is quite simply that she chose to do so, and the idea of a woman making choices concerning her body that they may not agree with is abhorrent to them.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
Full disclaimer for anyone who found this video while searching for iDubbbz or something, but I am the leftist, and so my response to this question is going to be based on a pre-existing assumption that value is created due to the labour that is put into producing a product. But hear me out here. If a sex worker is selling her body for an hour or so, for example, in order to produce an OnlyFans video or whatever, and this is an immoral thing they should not be doing, well, what do you think you're doing in an hour at your job? Your boss has full control over your body, and even to some extent your mind, during the workday, so what exactly makes a construction worker, for example, selling their labour to a construction company in order to use their body to produce a house, in any way different to a sex worker selling their labour to people on OnlyFans in order to produce nudes? This is especially hypocritical when you take a look at the fact that many of the people making these criticisms are YouTubers, and let's be honest here, the difference between a YouTuber creating content for YouTube and a sex worker producing content for OnlyFans is basically non-existent. Both push themselves out there for views and engagements, both do their best to maximize social media attention, both profit off a fan base of often creepily obsessed people, and of course both are beholden to and profit off their ability to stay afloat and continue to create a constant flow of content to please their respective audiences. You're not better than her just because you don't get your dick out on camera, mate. Fuck off. The only way a YouTuber could possibly claim to be morally superior to a sex worker is if they believe that sex is in some way inherently immoral, and yet screaming the N-word, which is something that iDubbbz has done on more than one occasion, is not.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
This is a terrifying aspect of our online economies, the parasocial nightmare that many large creators have to endure. The fact is that when it comes to online content, most of it is dominated less by large corporations than individual people, or at least that's how it comes across. Many of them do have huge teams behind them, but by and large, the impression of YouTubers people get is that of the individual creator talking to their audience. Over time, it does become possible to actually start to form a weird relationship with this person. They seem so personable and friendly, and they're constantly on screen, and it's very easy to start believing that this person is actually your real friend. This is manipulated sometimes by people begging for money and or donations from their followers, but most of the time it's just an unfortunate side effect of a media format in which the stars seem much more approachable and accessible through things like Twitch stream chat or YouTube comments, that it can start to feel like you have a relationship. But the fact is that this relationship is one-sided. More than likely the creator doesn't know that the fan exists or how they feel, and that, I think, is what's going on here. I very much doubt these people give a shit about everyone else on OnlyFans. It's just this one woman who's connected to a YouTuber they like. Because let's be honest, it's objectively not a betrayal if a woman you don't know decides to sell nudes on the internet, but if you think that that person is your friend, if you have a crush on her, if you feel like you have a relationship, whether or not she would agree, it can feel like that.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
This is the I'm not racist but of controlling women's bodies. Fuck off, yes you absolutely do have a problem with sex workers, just own up to it already. You can say shit like, I don't hate them, but I wouldn't want my girlfriend to be one, or you like, but by that implication you're inherently arguing that sex work is something you are uncomfortable with and a profession you don't respect. Further solidified by the fact that many of these people made half-hour-long videos about how upset they were that this woman decided to sell her body on the internet and her boyfriend didn't stop her. This has the same energy as, I don't mind the gays, but I'd be upset if my son came home with a boyfriend. Or perhaps a better comparison would be, I don't hate Latinos, but I wouldn't want to live next door to one. When they say shit like this.
This made me laugh because in my head, this is exactly how I imagine most OnlyFans starting.
Didn't give it any thought, just thought maybe I'll sell my pussy online and see how it goes.
Especially people who aren't super famous already and just make OnlyFans. I personally know of people in my real life who started an OnlyFans, and I'm pretty sure this is the exact conversation they had with themselves.
They don't get to then argue that actually they don't have a problem with sex workers, they're just spending hours and hours filming, editing and uploading videos about it and how shameful it is for iDubbbz to be okay with his girlfriend getting her tits out on the internet, but they're not mad and they definitely don't hate sex workers.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion, no matter how ignorant and ill-informed, which is quite lucky for iDubbbz's audience because most of them are apparently weird misogynistic incels who are desperate to control what a woman they don't know does with her body, up to and including saying shit like this.
Honestly, iDubbbz, you fucked up so hard. You used to call Twitch streamers thoughts and you didn't even realize your girlfriend was the biggest hoe of them all. She's even flexing about how she can afford better cars now on her Twitter with the amount of money that she's getting from selling out her body. And as you can imagine, iDubbbz subreddit is going absolutely berserk. There are some crazy people that are actually defending this sort of behavior from his girlfriend, and the other side have accepted the truth that their beloved YouTuber is an absolute cuckold simp that lets his girlfriend sell her body while he watches in the corner for all the men that are gonna be lining up, all to finesse his girlfriend while he sits in the corner and watches. What the hell is going on, dude? This is so crazy.
Which is hardly surprising considering that iDubbbz has cultivated an audience of edgy boys. It just doesn't seem to occur to these people that not only is it none of their business and it's weird as fuck for them to get involved like this, but above all, they just don't seem to grasp that someone might have a different view or way of looking at things than them, and that view can be equally, if not more, valid. It's a classic case of lack of introspection. They don't see the nuance or really fully grasp the idea that other points of view may be just as valid as theirs, and they don't stop to think that their behaviour may be toxic or controlling at all. They think that other men looking at their girlfriend in a sexual way makes her less valuable or reduces her worth or something, like she's a possession. Classic spoiled goods bullshit that evangelical abstinence preachers like to push. You wouldn't chew gum someone else has already chewed and other such baseless comparative nonsense.
I remember in school one time, I had a teacher who was talking about abstinence, and she said, imagine you're a stick of gum, and when you engage in sex, that's like getting chewed. And then if you do that lots of times, you're going to become an old piece of gum. And who's going to want you after that? Well, that's terrible, but nobody should ever say that. But for me, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm that chewed up piece of gum. Nobody re-chews a piece of gum. You throw it away. And that's how easily it is to feel like you no longer have worth, you no longer have value. Why would it even be worth screaming out? Why would it even make a difference if you are rescued? Your life still has no value.
That's Elizabeth Smart, the kidnapping and rape victim who was found after 9 months on the street.
Is toxic masculinity in its most distilled form. Control over women, shaming a woman who takes control of her own body and sexuality, and equally shaming the man who supports her doing so, and asserting that when it comes down to it, iDubbbz isn't controlling his woman well enough, and she's in some way tarnishing his reputation or affecting his career by daring to make decisions concerning her own body that he completely supports. Very healthy stuff.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Hey, here's a wild idea. Maybe women shouldn't be either put on a pedestal and treated like they're all naive children who need to be controlled or suppressed, and maybe a woman who embraces or profits from her sexuality isn't in some way tarnished or betraying her man by not being a submissive creature who would never let anyone see her bum. Sex work is work. In general, it's no more or less empowering or degrading than any other job. So long as no one gets hurt, there should be no issue with sex work because we all sell our bodies in the form of labour to others, but these people don't seem to really give a fuck about someone like me selling my labour to the insurance company I work for whilst crying and acting like it's this great betrayal for the girlfriend of a YouTuber they like who they don't know to create incredibly tame softcore solo adult content. And finally, all the YouTubers who acted like sex work is in any way inferior or less respectable than what they're doing are deluding themselves. They basically have the same job, except at least sex workers don't try to sell me Raid Shadow Legends and tell me to smash that like button at the beginning of every video.
Is it water with the sheep in the box.
Hi everyone, I wasn't actually intending on making this video, but I saw Chud Logic, my current favourite Twitch streamer, cover the most popular video response to iDubbbz, which is the one I used the most clips of, and I realised that it had been a while since I last talked about sex work, and this kind of stuff needs to be discussed more than it currently is. Anyway, as always, I just wanted to thank all my patrons whose names are currently being displayed on screen right now, because especially during the lockdown, I really do need every penny I can scrape together right now. If you want to join them, there will be a link in the description, and if you pledge $5 or more, you'll get extra bonus stuff like videos uploaded 2 days early, and I'll read your name or username out during the credits, like so. So today I especially want to thank Calliope, Cedar or Sylvester in Drag, Chris Vagnacci, Ebfrey Jeffstein, Nanza Kambe. Next we have Ryan, it's Brian, Pixels Green, Stacey Solano, Susie M, Theodore Pekelarov, Thomas McCallum, Tom Newport, and Tranicist Emily. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. As you probably also noticed as well, I do have a Discord, so if you do want to join in there and have a bit of a chat, I am usually around to have a chat in there as well. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later. Bye!